Hello and welcome to the BSR Grand Tour here at Montreal, live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, and alongside me is Mark Barbner and Sam Cumo on the cameras. And Marco, we saw, I think this is your first ever time broadcasting this series, but we saw an interesting race around here in the Euro V8s yesterday. Certainly catch that if you possibly can, but that was a very chaotic race around here. And it's going to be more of the same, I think, in these GT3 cars. A difficult circuit, great participation as always in this series, and going to be a crowded circuit out there. Could be plenty of incidents.
Absolutely, thank you Sam, and hello everybody, and happy Canada Day, because July the 1st, 1867, the day when the Dominion of Canada was formed by the British Empire, so it's fitting that we are racing here in beautiful Montreal. And you're right, Sam, we had an amazing set of 3 races yesterday in the Euro V8, 3 races as well tonight, so I think we're in for a very good one. A lot of good drivers, some old faces. For me, it's the first time I'm doing this championship, but I recognize some of the names I don't know, and I'm expecting to see good things from these drivers. So I can't wait to get it started. I see 5 minutes until the end of qualifying here, so we should be started really soon.
Yeah, it's been a very competitive championship so far. It is Richard Gafencu who leads the series currently by quite a big margin. He did win the opening 4 races of the season. This is round 3 of the championship. He's quite far clear of Steve Leverley. Josh Thompson is in 3rd with Anwar Smith in 4th, Michael Abdoka 5th, and Scott Malcolm 6th. All these drivers will be hoping to qualify for the showdown. Now it's the top 6. After the first 9 rounds will qualify for a showdown, and then the points will be all but reset apart from a few bonus points for race wins, and they'll go to battle for the final 3 rounds of the championship. So really is important that you rack up the points, particularly the midfield drivers out there. And of course, Marco, it's not crucial to pick up the points at this point in the season, but you don't want to leave yourself with a lot to do in the final few rounds. You want to take the pressure off yourself nice and early.
Yeah, this is basically the format that we had in NASCAR back in the days of the first chase, not the one we have now when basically you win and you're in, but you had the first 10 drivers, if I remember correctly, get at the end of the season, the last 10 races, if you were in the top 10, you got onto the postseason and you got to fight for the championship, and if you were not, then tough luck. So consistency is key, like we say always in this series that have a multi-race format. Of course, reverses and all that stuff. So yeah, I think you need to get those points and secure your way in the top part of the standings as soon as possible, because you never know what's going to happen in this reverse grid that you have later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this first race will be based on qualifying, a 20-minute race. It's usually the most calm race, let's say. But I think actually out there today, as we saw in the Euro V8s actually yesterday, you rarely get a calm race round here. Second race will be a random reverse and will be again 20 minutes long, and then the final race will be 35 minutes long. The starting positions will be based on the finishing positions of race 2, and that'll be 35 minutes long, a mandatory pit stop as well. So plenty of different formats, and should really shake up the field. But yeah, because we've already talked a little bit about Montreal, Marco, and it is just such a difficult circuit for these drivers. The walls are close, full of chicanes, full of hairpins, and for most people, it's most people absolutely love this circuit. A lot of people hate it, but it's certainly in a lot of people's hearts.
Yeah, and we saw yesterday, and we are going to see today, some of the corners are really tricky, and we are talking about GT3, so big cars. Yes, they have ABS, but there's not a lot of space that these cars can fit in. So there are a couple of corners, especially the final chicane, where if you are going side by side, it is almost 100% sure that one of the 2 guys has to take it off track and get a slowdown. And we saw first 2 laps, you get a slowdown around here, you are going to lose a lot of position.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the slowdown can be absolutely crucial around this part of the circuit. Richard Warmingham just negotiating the curves because he won a race yesterday in the Euro V8. He won the first race, which I think was his first ever victory in the Euro V8 series. And yeah, I don't know, of course, you've seen Richard a little bit in the Euro V8s, but certainly a driver who, when he gets into the lead, it's very, very difficult to stop. A very reliable driver, maybe in the reverse case, maybe not quite as emphatic, but can often get himself into the race lead. And once he's there, he's very difficult to take off. And he now crashes to make my point look a little bit silly. But he is currently in 6th place at the moment. We've got a great field out there. Of course, Anwar Smith, you've seen Josh Thompson race quite a bit as well. And yeah, of course, Josh, quite an aggressive driver, let's say, and very, very quick as well. And that BMW, I imagine, could work quite well around this circuit.
I'm a fan of front-engine cars, so good to see a lot of BMWs, a lot of Mercedes cars around here. And it looks like this car can work well as the checkered flag falls, but we get a couple of minutes to finish laps, so these guys can, if they are on a flying lap, get to the start-finish line and maybe hopefully improve their positions. So it's not over yet, and in a couple of minutes we are going to have the final starting grid for you.
Yeah, just needs to complete their laps. Kip Stevens, good qualifying for him currently in 9th. Had a bit of a struggling Watkins Glen round. He'll be hoping to qualify for the showdown. I don't think he can improve there. Just yeah, a couple of tenths slower than his best lap time out there. Got about 4 more drivers to complete. Stephen Burke now, currently in 21st position. And of course, this final chicane is really difficult to negotiate. And it kind of comes down to driver preference, doesn't it? Even in cars like this, you can maybe deal with those curves. It's kind of, you can't just got to tackle it as you feel comfortable, haven't you?
Yeah, I said this during the BSR Pro series broadcast a couple of weeks ago. I'm saying this again because most of the people don't know why we have these giant white sausages on the inside of most of the corners here. This is because when iRacing scanned this track, there was the NASCAR Xfinity Series racing here. So they prepared the track for that series and they wanted to avoid cars cutting the chicane or getting an advantage. So we have to deal with this kind of high curves in all the cars. And some cars respond better, some cars respond not so good. And the risk of jumping on the curb, losing traction or losing the directionality and getting into the wall or getting into another car is really, really high. So you have to be very, very careful.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that. And yeah, that would explain a lot. Of course, I don't know why they don't just edit it out, because I think, I'm not sure about this, I don't know if you know this, Marco, but I think they extended the pit lane round here, didn't they? Kind of went against the went against real life and actually extended it so that you didn't gain like a advantage by going just straight through the pits. But I don't know if that may have had something to do with the NASCAR as well. But yeah, Kip Stevens, and yeah, back to start to good up, and it is Anwar Smith on pole position. Really good lap from him. He was a little bit off colour on his dominant self usually at Watkins Glen, but he's right out in the lead there, 3 tenths clear of Josh Thompson, and further 4 tenths back to Bart Delman in 3rd. At Michael Abdoka starts in 4th. Then it's Chris Daines in 5th, Steve Leverley in 6th with Richard Warmingham in 7th. Then it's Michael Great, Kip Stevens, Jamie Ayres in 10th, Lane O'Connor, Ralph Cullinan, Colin Robinson, Lee Deemer, and James Underhill in 15th. Jared Jewell, Anthony Jacobson, Carl Hardy, Max Wright, and Scott Malcolm in 20th. Stephen Burke in 21st, and that's Richard Gafenke. He's got a long way to get up, so didn't spot that, but because the championship leader, should be a fun old race for him. Maybe struggle to get a clean lap in, with Lee Woodburn in 23rd, and David Crozier didn't set a qualifying time. Hopefully he will be out there for the race. But yeah, interesting first couple of corners, isn't it, Marco? You can go around the outside in one of them and then find yourself on the inside in another. But yeah, you can pretty much guarantee kind of 2x2 file for the first 2 or 3 corners around here.
Yeah, they have to be very, very careful after the first corner, because the next chicane we saw a lot of crashes in the years and yesterday as well. It seems like you have space for 2 cars, but you only have space for 1, and then the track goes gets narrower and goes down the hill. So the car on the inside thinks he has a lot of space, and suddenly he has not that much of space, and then he has to stop the car while going down the hill. And to add to that, on the right side you have a huge, hard concrete wall that is unforgiving, and you risk hitting the wall and bouncing back on the tracks. This is going to be the trouble spot, and of course, like we said, the final chicane, but that will be a trouble spot all race long. As the pace car is rolling, so I think we are almost ready to go.
Yeah, unfortunately, Richard Kopenka couldn't take the restart, so I don't know if something has happened to Richard there. I remember one driver, I think it was Jamie McKnight yesterday, meant to go to sleep for 6 minutes, ended up going to sleep for 6 hours instead and managed to miss all 3 races, so well done to him. But I hope that has happened to Richard. Of course, it was like midnight for Jamie, to be fair, so can't blame him too much. But here we go. Anwar Smith from the pole positions. This is going to be difficult to negotiate around this final chicane. When will he floor Anwar Smith? And he's already gone, and Josh Thompson is right with him. That Mercedes power really needs to help him down this straight. It's spread out a little bit just behind due to the chicane, and around the outside goes Thompson. But if anything, he just backs out a little bit and allows Anwar Smith to take the lead. And Smith, after not a brilliant launch, still holds that race lead. Michael Abdoka managed to gain a position up into 3rd place, with Bart Delman dropping down to 4th. Other than that, not too many big gainers, and I think it's been a pretty clean start for us, Marco.
Yeah, there's a huge gap between P8 and P9, so something must have happened. Maybe at the chicanes somebody was not really sure how to take the start there. But yeah, all clean and all good. These drivers are now trying to get into the race rhythm and start to make moves to get past their opponent.
Yeah, now having to go defensive is Bart Delman. So, and a bit of contact there. So that's Steve Leverley defending against Chris Danes. So Leverley managed to get past Danes in the first few corners. Yeah, now under pressure from behind. Great livery actually on Chris Danes' car, I must say. But he's surrounded by a few XVR drivers. Leverley warming up and great all around him. And I imagine he might get beat up a little bit by those teammates. But here we go, heading down to the chicane. Gotta make sure you don't get a slowdown down here. Caution might be the better choice, but he's not going to go for that choice. And he's down the inside and around potentially, and they've made contact, and the XBR drivers have hit each other. I can't believe it. Oh my goodness, dear.
And another contact, as well. Oh man, this is bad crash. The road is blocked.
Well, the XVR drivers didn't like that chicane yesterday, did they? And they really don't like it now, do they?
I think all 3 of them got involved in some form or another in the crash. Let's see the replay.
They just got up on that curb, didn't they?
Yeah, all 3 were involved. Unbelievable. And then another teammate got and then GT Omega car going into the XVR car and flipping it upside down. So that was absolutely a dramatic moment in the race, and 3 cars that were looking very good are now severely damaged or had to tow back to the pits. So what a shame for the XVR racing drivers.
Yeah, just to give you context, that was 3 of the 4 XVR drivers out there. Fortunately for Lane O'Connor, he was not involved in that one. But yeah, absolute rotten luck for them. We saw some collisions between teammates earlier on today in the iRacing Grand Prix series and yesterday in the Euro V8, but that wasn't really one of them. That was just one car goes into the wall, and like Marco was saying earlier on, once you hit the wall, you can very easily bounce back in. Anwar Smith is under big pressure from Josh Thompson, just looking at the live timing, and Smith for now holding on quite comfortably. In fact, a good run through that chicane, and it's going to be difficult for Thompson to make these moves, isn't it? Because that BMW isn't so strong down the straights. It is fantastic on the brakes though, and that might enable him to maybe go for a lunge.
Yeah, a little bit of damage on the front right side, but nothing too serious for Josh Thompson, so I think he will be okay. Fastest lap of the race for him so far, so he's definitely feeling good. And I love seeing all the different manufacturers in the GT3 as they have, I think, a lap car in front of them, so this is going to be interesting. They will go and catch that lap car, I think, in a matter of half a lap, even less. Blue flags should be waving. He's letting all of them by. Nice move.
Yeah, that was James Underhill there. and he's going past as many cars as possible. Michael Abducker still in range at the moment in that Fitzstye car, and yeah, running in third position currently, 1.5 seconds behind the top two. And what's
there's contact between the leaders.
We heard it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Abducker will really be licking his lips now. Now, how close can Thompson get? Maybe a little bit of aero damage potentially for Thompson. Smith, I'm not sure if he was shaking about a little bit down the straight, maybe not too pleased with that one. Can Thompson go for a dive? Surely Smith has got to go expensive here. But no, Thompson, if anything, just backing out of that one a little bit. I'm surprised he didn't go for the move, maybe apologising a little bit for that contact. And has he just made contact with the wall again? This top four still very much is like a further 3.5 seconds back to Danes, and behind that it's all very, very spread out back to kind of, you've got to go back to about 10th position to see another battle. Abducker wide in turn one. But yeah, Smith holding on for now, and Thompson struggled to make the move last week, and you know, it's difficult to really follow around this circuit, isn't it, Marco? And especially with the wall so close, ever so slightly turbulent air can really unsteer you into the wall.
Yeah, and we see Thompson going very, very deep on the brakes here. Almost missed his braking point. I think he missed his braking point, was able to save it very close to the wall. I think they had door-to-door contact, because I can see damage on the front and the back of the cars. Now we see the replay. Great work behind the cameras by Sam Fumo once again.
Oh, that was very clumsy from Josh, wasn't it? That was, you know, far too late. I think it was one of them where it was like, oh, you're going to break that early. Okay, I'll nip down the inside. But really, there wasn't a chance. And that was the little wiggle there from Smith. And I think that was the reason why Thompson didn't go for a move at the end of the chicane. Now, will he go for it this time? Into slipstream again, Josh Thompson. He's quarter of a second behind. It's difficult to go for a lunge here, although if you can get your car on the inside, it's difficult for the car on the outside to really respond. But for now, he has to stick behind Radical's car. And yeah, for now, status quo.
Yeah, they were really lucky, because I thought Smith was going to get turned around there. They were going very slow, so it didn't affect him that much, but there was definitely some contact there. Thompson, you said, doesn't hold back very much. He wants to make the pass. He's going to do everything he can to make the pass happen. He's very close right now.
A little bit of contact, I think, for Smith. Just hitting the inside wall there. You can get away with that, but he's offline now. And Thompson with a nice run. Now he's got to get right to the inside as Anwar Smith. Cover off that inside line. He's not going to do it though, and Josh Thompson might be able to take the lead here. You need the inside line into this next corner. So Anwar Smith has left himself vulnerable, and now he can try to get the cutback, but has he just got a slow down potentially? He really cut that curve hard, and he has. And Michael Abducker is going to be right on his tail any moment now. I think Abducker is up into second position. No, he isn't, but he's very close, and now to the inside he goes. And he's... it just depends whether Smith has still got to serve a little bit more slowdown. It seems as though he's okay now. He's not lifting off anymore. But yeah, I felt as though there, Marque, learning from what we know about this circuit, and now I think is Abducker actually going for the move now. No, Smith just staying ahead. But knowing about this circuit, you've got to cover that inside line, haven't you? And you know, Smith left himself very vulnerable there.
Yeah, and you see, even if you get a little bit on the inside of the curves at the chicane, you are vulnerable to a slowdown. So that was you have to stay on the track side of those huge white curves, otherwise you're going to get a slowdown more often than not.
So Nicole Foggy, he'll be in the World GT race tomorrow. He fell back victim to that. Very marginal calls, but just got the didn't really get the rubber green there. And Robinson currently in 15th position. Jacobson just ahead of Robinson, really wide there. And I think he's lost a little bit of time, but should stay in that 15th position. Nice little battle actually, Carl Hardy and Ashley Jacobson. Apart from that, there's not really that many battles going on. It's kind of 1 second between each of the drivers. We sometimes see this in race one with the qualifying orders, but certainly we've been very much entertained out there. A couple of collisions out there, and yeah, a couple of overtakes as well. Smith, has he done it again? I think.
It's very, very slow coming into the hairpin, so I think so. I think that got a slowdown. Maybe he made a mistake. No, he got a slowdown. Went very, very, very. He cut basically cut on the inside of the chicane, and that's gonna be a slowdown every time.
And there's very much nothing more frustrating than a slowdown, is though when you maybe a speeding penalty, I think, might be the most frustrating thing on iRacing. But you know, being wrecked out of the race, it's like, oh, you know, I couldn't have done anything about that. But a slowdown penalty, when you just go over the curb, you start to think, you know, what's the point in doing that? And now it's cost Anwar Smith potentially 2 positions, and you know, he needs to really make sure he doesn't do it again.
Yeah, because now he's got Bardelman right behind him. And he risks losing the podium when he was a few laps ago sitting comfortably in the first position.
Yeah, Smith, didn't really have much of a response, did he, to Smith? And yeah, it's just scraping the wall. It's absolutely fantastic to see those shots of the cars getting so close to the wall. Let's see if he does it again. Let's see if he stays a long way away from it. He's still attacking it quite hard, but that time he absolutely nailed it. And he's got, I think, the pace on Michael Evdocker potentially. Certainly in qualifying, he was about 6/10 clear. At the moment, struggling to make it stick. Evdocker had an awful day, didn't he, yesterday? I think he had 2 retirements and then didn't even take part in the 3rd race, but driving really well there. And I think he may have learned from his mistakes yesterday.
Yeah, looked so good yesterday for him, starting I think from pole position or 2nd position in race 1. Then he got collected in a wreck at the 2nd corner, 2nd race disconnection, and then basically that was it for him. And he really needs to bounce back, even though it's strange to say this because he's the defending champion, but he needs to bounce back next Saturday for the first meeting of the season.
Yes, certainly catch that. That's 18:15 GMT for the first round of the Euro V8 Supercar Series. But for now, Carl Hardy really close on Stephen Burke and Carl Hardy. So, and I was one of those situations where it's like, no, you go first. Nah,
Yeah.
You go first. One of those awkward social interactions. But yeah, Jacobson's still really close to Hardy. Got a little bit of a dent, and down the inside goes Jansen Jacobson. That's a nice move potentially, but he's not going to be able to push his competitor off the circuit. But nice run round the outside there. Carried a lot of momentum still. The BMW looking to come back. Carl Hardy, and looks to the inside. Not quite.
From being nice to each other to banging doors in the space of 2 corners, basically. That was a very, very GT3 move. Using his doors to finish the pass, and Jacobson now is up to P14.
Yeah, started P17 as well, so nice drive through the field. Big gainer, I think, up there is Max Wright. He started 19th, up into 12th. Can Hardy come back here? Down to the outside goes Carl Hardy. Now he needs to get a nice little cut back here, but he's missed the apex, and that's not going to help his chances whatsoever. And he's going to be too far back going into the hairpin. I think it's really close between Evdocker and Smithster. In fact, it's 0.2 of a second according to the timing screen. And here comes Anwar Smith. Bart Delman watching this one, and Evdocker's not going defensive. Smith to the inside. Can Evdocker hang it round the outside? And he's he has actually tried to repel that one. Surprised that he allowed his rival to have the inside, but Evdocker knew what he was doing because he's now got the inside for this one. Can Smith come back down the inside? It's just too narrow, the circuit, and through this part of the track it's very difficult to force the overtake. But that was really smart, wasn't it, from Evdocker? You know, giving up the outside going into one corner meant they had the inside for the next 2, and a slow down for Anwar Smith. Oh dear. 3 positions lost now because of slowdown, or at least 2, you know.
Yeah, you said in the beginning some drivers love this track, some drivers hate this track, and I think that Anwar Smith hates this track right now.
And yeah, 2 different chicanes. This circuit is pretty much just chicanes. And yeah, it's kind of weird that the one chicane where you're most likely to pick up slowdown hasn't actually got one from. But here's Hardy again trying to repel the attack from Jacobson. Robinson up on these 2 as well. So this is a nice battle, and the pretty much the closest one out there, and apart from kind of Wright and Burke just ahead of these guys. And Jacobson, whoa, really under pressure from Hardy. And Hardy's so close here, and Jacobson losing the rear end. And here goes Hardy down the inside into the hairpin. Surely there's going to be no defence put up by Jacobson. And can the BMW just behind him do? No, he's going to decide to go into the rear of Jacobson. And Hardy, that's really worked out well for him. He can sprint away now. But that's just a bit of a misjudgment from Robinson, despite having the opportunity to maybe slip down the inside as well.
Yeah, we'll see if now he gets enough toe on the back search. I don't think so, and the driver in front of him is going very, very defensive in the chicane, jumping hard on the curbs, the Mercedes, and he maintains the position now. Of course, Jacobson will try to get the position back on us.
Yeah, pretty evenly met, and has Hardy got a slowdown or something? He was very slow there, and he's still, let's see if he accelerates away from this one. Yeah, so he just took a bit of a weird line, I thought, going into turn one.
But yeah, it was a very, very defensive line, even though he didn't need to do that because he had sufficient clearing to the car behind him, so that was odd.
Yeah, very. Delman under pressure from Smith again. Smith's just been in the middle of everything which has been going on in this front battle. Thompson's now 5.3 seconds in the lead, but this final podium position is far from sorted. We've got 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Smith to the outside. Good defense from Delman just to break the toe. And a bit wide now for Delman. Now can Smith carry the speed through? Not quite, just had to put a little bit of opposite lock on over the second curb. Okay, looks to the inside now, can Anwar Smith. He goes to the outside, does a little bit of a dummy, and down the inside goes Anwar Smith, and that's a really nice move. You can kind of see what he was trying to do there. Just managed to trick Bart Delman, but back comes Bart Delman again, down the inside, and if he's brave enough on the brakes, he should be able to push out Anwar Smith here. They're going to be side by side through the second part of the chicane,
no space,
and he hits the wall. He should be okay. I don't think there's going to be any steering damage, but that was a very well executed move from Anwar Smith.
Amazing move by Smith, and said it in the beginning, there's no space for two cars throughout that corner, entering and exiting. Somebody has to lift. Delman did not lift, and I think he got a little bit of the wall, but should be okay. You are right, these cars are pretty tough until they break.
Yes. Again, still attacking that curb a lot, those two, and every time I'm looking at Smith, I'm just thinking, oh, is he going to do it again? He's not going to have enough time to catch up to Michael Abdoka. I think he's 3 seconds up the road as Abdoka started 4th on the grid, remember. So really, he'll be super happy with this result if he can convert. So I think that would be his best result of the season. But Josh Thompson out in the lead, 5.9 seconds clear. He's still got the right Hardy and the Hardy, Jacobson and Robinson battle out there for. Yeah, and they've caught up to Max Wright, so I don't know if something has happened to Max Wright, but he's really struggling out there. And now, can the BMW go for the move? Defensive goes Max Wright. On the inside, round the outside goes the BMW, and a little bit of a slide there for Anthony Jacobson, but a much better run for Carl Hardy. And I don't know about you, Marco, but I think there could be a big issue for Max Wright.
Going very, very slow, everybody is passing him, so I don't know if that is a slowdown or a mechanical issue. Now he's moving to the left. Let's see if he heads for the pits.
Oh, and contact! It's worked out horribly for Jacobson. Didn't get beached on that. He hasn't done. But yeah, unlucky for Jacobson there. I think he kind of assumed that Max Wright would give him that position, but instead Wright fought it pretty hard.
Yeah, that was an odd situation because Wright was going so slow, I thought he was going to head for the pits. Maybe he had a slowdown from the chicane before the hairpin and was still basically trying to get the timer down because he was so slow entering the hairpin and exiting the hairpin as well. And that created that strange situation, and of course poor Jacobson got involved and lost a lot of position.
I think it's a mechanical issue, if anything, for Max. So you can see the damage on his car, and a couple of laps ago, well, his last couple of lap times have been some 3 or 4 seconds off the pace. So he's in big trouble here as Max. Like, can he fend off Colin Robinson for, what, 1 and a bit more laps? To the outside goes Robinson. I think Max Wright is struggling for power out there. And down the outside he goes. I don't think Max Wright will be wanting to get involved in another collision. And yeah, just had to back out of that one. And Robinson really wide. He thought he had that one. And the driver just behind us, Scott Malcolm, he's waltzed up to these guys. And yeah, could work really well for him.
Looking for the inside move here, the final chicane is Malcolm. Seems to be easy for him to get the position. Braking zone, on the curbs, and he does it.
Very nicely done that. All that he needs to. Jacobson will be really wanting to beat Max Wright. Currently, Max Wright is lapping some 3.5 seconds off the pace, but Jacobson is 5 seconds off, and we are on the final lap. So I don't think he's going to have enough time to catch up, despite how much Anthony Jacobson will try. Oh, there might be a car just hitting the wall there, but yeah, I think that was just a background noise. But yeah, pretty much all the battles has been sorted out there. Lane O'Connor and Lee Deemer is still pretty close. But yeah, I think we should watch Josh Thompson rounding these final few corners, I think. And across the line he comes, Josh Thompson. I think that's his second race victory of the season. Superb drive from him. And he's taken race 1 here at Montreal.
I think Evdoka got a slow down.
Yes.
And the final corner, and Smith got second position in the end.
So Smith, after those 2 slowdowns, losing positions to Evdoka and Delman, somehow ends up in second position. He'll be delighted with that one.
Now, hopefully, if Evdoka had a slowdown, hopefully he got the timer down to 0, because if he passed the start-finish line, and because basically he lost the podium by 0.01 of a second, so if you don't do your entire penalty, you get disqualified. Put 1 lap down, so hopefully, and we will only know this when everybody has crossed the start-finish line.
Yeah, currently, according to the timing screen, he's not 1 lap down, but yeah, we'll wait and see. That was so unlucky for Evdoka. He only lost that second position by about 0.2 of a second. Michael Gray is going to come across the line any moment. He was one of the XVR drivers who was involved in that collision, I think, at this very corner. Maybe it means that XVR are going to be the champions this season. I don't know, of something. Across the wall of champions there. But yeah, across the line he comes. And yeah, I think we can now take you through the final order. And it was Josh Thompson taking the race victory by 9 seconds in the end, comfortable over Anwar Smithy. Maybe we'll feel he could have won that race, but in the end, Thompson was much quicker, and I think Anwar Smith will just be happy to finish in that second position. Michael Evdoka drove a faultless race, really, apart from the very last corner where he picked up a slowdown. He ends up in 3rd, with Bart Delman in 4th. Chris Daines was just watching that battle from the background in 5th, but good drive from him. Kip Stevens, good drive from 9th to 6th. Jamie Ayres finished 7th from 10th on the grid. Lane O'Connor 8th from 11th. Lee Deemer, Season 1 champion, ends up in 9th. That's a good drive from him. And Jared Jewell, 16th to 10th in the end. Ralph Cullen then finishes in 11th. Stephen Burke went from 21st to 12th. I think that was the big gainer out there. Carl Hardy finishes in 13th, with Colin Robinson 14th. And Scott Malcolm profited from a battle between Max Wright and Anthony Jacobson. Michael Gray was involved in a collision with his teammates at the bus stop at the final chicane a couple of laps into the event. And then Rich Gafinki did eventually take the start. Hopefully he'll be with us later on, but he'll start the next race very near the back. David Crozier in 20th position. He was 11 laps down, with Lee Woodburn, Richard Warmingham, Steve Leverley and James Underhill, the other retirements. And Sam, I think we have a reverse grid. Hope the music is on. Absolutely love this one. -3, okie dokie. So that means not Michael Gray, not Anthony Jacobson, not Max Wright. Will it be Scott Malcolm, I think, on pole position? So Max Wright will be annoyed with that, but Scott Malcolm profited late on from incidents from the drivers ahead, and I think he will start on pole position with Colin Robinson on the front row. Should be a fascinating second race of the evening. Certainly do not miss it. We'll be back with you in about 20 minutes time. See you then.
iRacing.com is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all over the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics and engineered in cooperation with manufacturers.
Welcome back to the BSR Grand Tour at Montreal live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, and alongside me is Marco Barbner and Sam Pumo on the cameras. And we just witnessed a very exciting race one. And starting from pole position in this one will be Scott Malcolm. After we got a full -3 reverse grid, Colin Robinson will start in second position with Carl Hardy third. Stephen Burke's in fourth with Ralph Kalman in fifth. Jared Jewell in a sixth, Season 1 champion Lee Deemer in seventh, and then it's Lane O'Connor in eighth, Jamie Ayres in ninth, and Kip Stevens in 10th. Then behind that, Chris Daines, Bart Delman, Michael Adoka, Anwar Smith, Josh Thompson, race 1 winner, Max Wright in 16th. He just missed out on the reverse pole. Anthony Jacobson, Michael Gray, Richard Gafenke, Richard Warmingham, Steve Leverley, and James Underhill rounding out the field are just grizzing up currently. But yeah, Marco, in that first race we saw those silly slowdowns playing a major part. But I think in this race it's going to be more about the race car from the top drivers and how these maybe slightly slower drivers who start from the front can repel those attacks.
Yeah, because basically all of the fast drivers have either had a very good race or a very bad race in the first one, so they're all sitting at the back of the pack, more or less. So it's going to be interesting battling between themselves and with the cars that are in front of them. They are trying to pass to get back to the podium, and of course it's very important because you get the starting grid for race 3 with the finishing order of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott Malcolm actually just skipping through that chicane a little bit, and he's got an awesome start potentially. No, he's just letting it off. We are now green, and Scott Malcolm has got a good start. Colin Robinson hanging on to P2 at the moment, but he could be under pressure from the drivers behind. Steve Burke on the outside in the Audi, but down the inside goes Carl Hardy. And Colin Robinson hanging on at the moment. Steve Burke and Carl Hardy currently side by side going into turn 2. So often we can see incidents down here. Stephen Burke's a little bit late on the brakes there. I think across the grass was Lane O'Connor on the curb there. He got a little bit of contact down the field. Seemingly no spins. Could still be some issues here. A slow car out there. I think that was a slowdown for Jamie Ayres. He started near the front of the pack. Going down into this next corner, and Anthony Jacobson almost drowned. He's collected it though, just about. But yeah, Scott Malcolm out in the lead. Good start for him. Yeah,
everybody behaving through the first corners. We see the XVR cars at the back of the pack trying to avoid what happened to them in the first race. That was very, very close to getting involved once again, not because of their fault again. But yeah, the guys are behaving. Let's see what is going to happen now at the hairpin. Always a trouble spot in the first laps.
Yeah, Stephen Burke going down the inside. A little bit of contact you can hear in the background. But 2 by 2 they come, and Carl Hardy just sitting in behind Colin Robinson and Stephen Burke as they roll down this back straight. The BMW, if anything, just pulling ahead slightly. Can Burke respond? He is just pulling ever so slightly more alongside. Who's going to win into the chicane? This may not end well. Round the outside and over the bumps goes the BMW, and straight into the back goes Burke. Fortunately, we're not going to have another pile up there. But really stranded now is Stephen Burke. And Rafe Kalner, I think, might be able to make the move. Kip Stevens in there as well. And Stevens to the outside. Sorry, that was Stevens. Yes, Stevens on the outside, trying to get the move on Rafe Kalner. Can Kalner bend him off? This is an opportunity for Kalner to maybe win a race. Stevens up 6 positions from his start. He's not going to be up 7 yet, but he's looking very strong in P4.
Yeah, Scott Malcolm having a huge lead right now. I think 3.5 seconds. Everybody behind him is basically bunched up. Oh, a massive crash.
XVR driver again.
Oh, be careful with the
XVR drivers. Max Wright involved in that one.
And I think it's number 95 also involved. Gafenku, yes. That was an odd crash to say the least. Man, these XVR guys are so unlucky tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, and another trouble there.
Instant, yeah. Anwar Smith.
And Smith, yes.
So yeah, here it was. Oh, so Thompson went into Smith, didn't he? And yeah, a couple of other cars getting involved. I think that was Daleman there. Yeah. And Hardy, I think, as well.
Yeah, Evdoka got away barely, and he has a very good chance of gaining some ground on his opponents, because now he's up to P7. But what a chance for Malcolm, Burke, Cullinan, all these drivers that are in the front, because basically all of the top riders have been involved in some kind of trouble in the opening laps.
Yeah, we were talking earlier how the drivers at the back of the field could make their way up through the field, but if anything, they've taken each other out. The top two in the last race, hitting one another, and it's really gifted an opportunity for these drivers, like Marcus said, to take a surprising race victory. Scott Malcolm nearly 4 seconds out in the lead, but it's all going on behind. Stephen Burke doing a great job of holding him up, holding the drivers up behind. Lena Collins had a good start, up 3 positions up into 5th. And Michael Abdoka in up 6 positions in 7th, and Michael Grace had an awesome start as well, from 18th to 8th. So brilliant chain of cars down here, and yes, just going to be about that race car, not about pace at this point. It's all about where you position your car and whether or not you can take your opportunities.
Yes, and all these good drivers that have been involved in crashes, they must be desperate, because of course, due to the rules, they will probably start race 3 as well, way back in the pack. If they can manage, of course, to get some position, it's better for them. But basically, the only name that really gets to our attention is Michael Avdoka, because all the other guys, maybe Chris Danes got away with damage, but Thompson, Smith, Kafenku, all have been involved in some trouble.
Yeah, and Zhao Jewel there, who we just saw, he started in P10, I think. He would have been right in the mix. He started P7, in fact. And was this a replay of Jacobson? And Hardy just behind him. And Thompson just moving through that. His chat has been sealed. Didn't hear what happened. Didn't hear what Josh said, but after his incidents earlier on, I don't blame him for being a little bit frustrated out there, but he is up into the top 12 now.
He just had the fastest lap of the race, 1:32.6, so he's on a charge, but he has to gain a lot of positions. 13 laps this race, we are already in lap 4, so not a lot of time left for him.
Okay, so an incredible drive from him to move from 12th to 1st in a matter of about 5 laps at Suzuka. But this field is, I think, a lot more competitive today, and he's going to do well just to finish in the top 5, I think. Speaking of the top 5, it's really close, and second to 6, still in a line. It's even closer than it was on the last lap, but so far, all these drivers have really struggled to pull off an overtake. In fact, actually, Cullinan managed to get past Burke, so he managed to miss that one. But yeah, Cullinan ahead of Burke, and now he can romp off after Scott Malcolm.
3.2 seconds the gap between position 1 and position 2. So in the last lap, second place, Ralph Cullinan got around 0.7 of a second better than the leader, Scott Malcolm. It's not going to be easy for him, because he has to watch in his mirrors a lot, because he has quite a few cars lining up right here.
Yeah, but I think he's got the pace, it seems like, to catch up to Malcolm. That last lap he was 0.4 faster, so it's not going to be easy for him. He's got to put in a lot more good laps, but for now, as long as he can just keep a bit of a gap to Stephen Burke, they should be able to catch up to Malcolm. We could have a stepping car battle potentially for the race victory out here. Still, the drivers just struggling to really make the moves. I thought Evdoka and Dima would be finding it a little bit easier, but to give credit to Stephen Burke in particular, he's managed to keep Stephen behind at bay for several laps now, and he's still holding strong in that P3, just behind Evdoka, really close to the back of Dima, because Dima won the championship last season, and yeah, currently in a where he kind of wants to be at the rear of this train, right in the game.
On board with car number 18, Kip Stevens, looking maybe for a move at the hairpin, but he's a little ways behind, so he gets in line, maybe try to get a good exit out of here.
Do you think maybe Cullinan, Burke and Stevens are thinking now, okay, let's not fight, let's just go after Malcolm, catch up to him, because at this rate they're going to comfortably catch him within the next few laps, and then we'll resume this battle, do you think? Or do you think maybe they're just really evenly matched on pace and they can't force the overtake right now?
I would really be surprised if they have that kind of agreement, of a silent agreement between them, because we've seen some crazy racing today, but so far so good, it's working for them. Yeah, maybe it's because of the same pace, they all did their best lap in the last lap, so they are pushing really hard, not getting into each other's way, more or less. As we see Evdoka try desperately to get a move around Dimmer, but we see Thompson again trying to get a position on Danes on the inside, going into the second chicane or first chicane. I don't know if it's the first corner, if it's a chicane or not. Oh, this corner again.
Well, Thompson's made it, and you know what? He's going to have a chance at a podium, I think, already involved in a collision. And clearly, Chris Danes not too happy about that one. But if these two can stop squabbling amongst each other, they are going to be on the back of that pack up ahead. Evdoka has got past Dima, so that's a move from Evdoka, and he'll be very pleased with that one. He can now move on to Lane O'Connor, and he's got to be really efficient now as Michael Evdoka, because if he can get through this field well, and we've seen him in the UAV8s dispatch slower drives very impressively, you know, he could be right in line for the race victory.
Absolutely, and these leaders are closing every lap a little bit more on Scott Malcolm. Now only 1.7 seconds between Scott Malcolm and his closest rival. You can see this long snake of cars, basically the first, let's say, 10 positions, or all bumper to bumper as they come across another lap. Lap 7 starts right now. The Mercedes is in front.
Malcolm trying to run away from the cheaters behind.
And we see Danes losing a lot of positions.
Oh dear, had an off as Chris Danes.
He was beached at the final chicane, so I think he had a little problem. Let's see.
An unusual line on the edge here, and he's got a hardware failure clearly, and or just got frustrated, not quite sure after that Thompson move, but yep, Chris Danes out of the race. Disappointing to see. Hopefully we'll see him back for the third race of the evening.
I won't comment on that because that looked very strange.
Yes. Evdoka's lost the position to Dima again. So Evdoka is struggling to make that mistake. Daleman on Gray potentially. One of the few XVR drivers, well, I say he hasn't got involved in a collision. Judging by his bonnet, he has. And he's still running well though in P8, started in 18th, the big gainer out there. Delman not quite close enough on the bricks, and they've only got Evdoka just ahead, but they've got to get a move on because by the middle of next lap, I think Thompson's going to be right on them, isn't he?
Yes, they are so close. Thompson is driving probably the fastest driver in the field as Delman looks on the inside.
Oh, and he's round. Just took too much curb, didn't he? And got lost control of the car. And we've got Jacobson going off as well.
You have to be so careful going back onto the track. Now he's safe to do so, but he lost a lot of positions, and too bad because he was one of those top drivers that managed. Oh, and there's another crash. 2 cars in the World of Champions.
Robinson, who started so far up the field, hitting the wall.
Was that Smith, the other car?
Yes. Yeah, could have been. So Robinson seemingly out of this event. And yeah, about to see what happened. So yeah, is that Smith? No, Smith was way ahead, so yeah, not quite sure about that one. But yeah, you just can't go too wide, can you? Through there, you know, chances are there's going to be a crash. And in fact, he did actually just do it by himself, didn't he? And just managed to get another driver involved as well. I think that was Jamie Ayres. Evdoka, by the way, has got back past Dima. So I think they've overtaken each other now 4 times. And only for 6th and 7th positions, though. And they'd like to be a little bit further up the field. Gray and Thompson now right onto the back of Lee Dima.
Thompson 132.5, sorry, another fastest lap, so he is definitely there.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that the lead is really close. 0.3 of a second between Malcolm and Cullinan. Cullinan was fighting for the championship last season, and so far this season hasn't really got any particularly good results, but this could be a race victory for him if he can just go down the inside of Scott Malcolm. He defends a little bit late, but fair enough, you know, but he was a little bit slow to realise that attack from Cullinan. And if these two start fighting, Stephen Burke will be right in the mix for this race victory.
Yeah, and of course, the more they battle, the more the cars behind are getting closer to them. Of course, they were all in a huge pack, and this is of course helping Josh Thompson, who is very close to lead Himmer. See him on the back of that pack there. It will be a great battle for the first positions. And I think that Malcolm is really driving on his limits, so he could be prone to a mistake in the next few corners or laps.
Yeah,
Not easy to drive with all this pressure from behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And he knows that if he loses one position, then he could be in trouble from others. But if he can keep Cullinan behind for another lap or so, allow Burke into the battle, then maybe Cullinan and Burke will start fighting against one another, and Malcolm can pull away again, perhaps.
Absolutely. That could be the thought process for him. Go once again to the final chicane, starting lap 10 of 13, so 4 to go. And there are no friends to show.
You can see Thompson in the background there, really closing in on those drivers. And actually, it's side by side between, was that O'Connor and Stevens, I think. Stevens hanging on, though O'Connor might make a bit of contact there. Not quite, and Docker fancying his chances here. We see so many moves into this turn 3. It's really weird because in real life you very rarely see anything, and they've crashed into one another. Docker might be okay, but O'Connor is far from that. And he's stranded there. It might be worth getting a tow back to the pits. We'll see if Abdoka can carry on. He's got plenty of damage, but he needs to make sure that he carries on going round there. Otherwise, otherwise he'll be starting low down on the grid for a race through. But I think it'll be easy for Josh Thompson to pull off this overtake. How did you view that?
Usually you have to sort your positions before the corner, but these guys made contact way before the braking zone. It was just a case, I think, of not good judgment from either of the drivers about the space they were occupying, and a little bit of contact, and you send the other car into the wall, and you go into the wall as well. So, and this is again concrete wall, very hard, unforgiving. If Doka carried on, but I think he has got some damage, and now Thompson got past him.
Yeah, maybe if he can just, he might still be able to hang on to like a top 7 perhaps. Not going to be able to fight Thompson, everything's just going his way, and he's going to be right in the mix for a podium by the end of this race, racing through the field. Now side by side between Burke and Stevens. So Stevens, after defending that 4th position, he might go up into 3rd here. Around the outside goes Kip Stevens. He's going to have the inside for the next corner, and he's going to have the inside for turn 3 as well, which is the line he will want. And Kip Stevens moves up into P3. Spent so long behind Stephen Burke in this race, and finally he gets it done and can move on to the 2 race leaders.
Can he go? Do you think he can go back and catch the leaders? I think so.
Down the inside goes Thompson. Not quite close enough to Burke there. He cannot lose any time, can Josh Thompson. If he can get this one done right now, he can still win this race. Can he look to the inside, Thompson? Not quite. Doesn't want to get Abdoka excited either, although Abdoka's just got a little bit of a poor line through that corner. Now, will Burke defend this one? He's been not defending too much out there so far. Thompson to the inside, and that's a simple move into 4th position, and he's very nearly where he wants to be.
Going to be a great battle until the end, this one. They are bunching up once again at the front. Thompson and Evdoka, I think they are coming. Stevens as well.
Here comes Cullinan to the outside. Can he muscle his way round here? If he can just keep a nose in there. Not quite. Has he got a decent run though? He's not really that close. He's about 2 tenths behind, although the slipstream effect now playing its part. And he goes to the inside. Potentially the turn 1. Down the inside goes with Cullinan. Are they going to make contact? No, they're not. And Cullinan kept that rear of the car at bay. And wide goes Malcolm, and he's given up the race lead. A mistake from Scott Malcolm, and he's dropped down into P2. And now Rafe Cullinan's got to make a lead. Otherwise, Josh Thompson will quickly be onto the back of him.
Yeah, see Stevens and Thompson battling against each other and trying to get that position. On the outside, Thompson, not ideal there, has to file back in.
Stevens, to be fair, defending very well. Burke is behind Thompson, and it's really close between those drivers currently. We might see an overtake perhaps down there. Those 4 drivers absolutely nose to tail. Stevens, will he go defensive again? He will not want to lose out to Josh Thompson easily. Now, can Thompson go to the inside? He's leaving himself a bit vulnerable here, Kip Stevens, and that's what can happen if you leave yourself vulnerable against Josh Thompson. And I think there was a bit of contact in the background.
If Doc and Burke got into each other, Burke got turned around. Let's see the replay.
Oh, Docker was way too late on the brakes, wasn't he? That was very clumsy from Michael.
Yeah. Now at risk of losing another position. Smith, and he does.
Slow down actually for Burke, I think, but let's concentrate on this for a bit. Cullinan having to defend from Malcolm. So what happened to Cullinan there? Because he pulled away, yeah.
And this is the white flag, by the way, so...
On Stevens.
It's all happening.
Yeah, Stevens tried to come back against Thompson, couldn't quite make it, but Dave Cullinan from seemingly from an unbeatable position has made this one a little bit complicated. Now, come Malcolm, defend against Thompson. Thompson has to make it here, and he goes down the inside. Is there going to be contact between two?
Yes,
yes, there is. And now goes Josh Thompson. He's only wanted the race victory there. The podium was not enough for him, and he's going to start race 3 potentially from outside the top 10 if he cannot get that car going quickly. Still, cars coming through. They've got to be so careful. But what rotten luck for Scott Malcolm, who has led this race for so long. Josh Thompson still stranded there. He's got to go, Josh. You've got to go, because race 3 is going away from him currently. Rafe Cullinan, though, he is going to be unchallenged surely to the race finish. Kip Stevens in 2nd. Lee Deemer was in 8th just a couple of laps ago. He's up into the podium position with Michael Abducker, despite that big damaged car, in 6th. And Ross Smith is somehow in 4th, despite a spin early on. But out in the lead, Rafe Cullinan. What a drive this has been. Hasn't taken a race victory so far this season, but he can waltz through that final chicane. Rafe Cullinan, perfect drive from him, and he will take race 2 of the evening here at Montreal. Fantastic drive from Rafe Cullinan, and across the line comes Kip Stevens. He fully deserves that 2nd position. Does Kip Stevens? Is there going to be a move later on here? Daleman holding off against Scott Malcolm, who will start in 9th. He will be thinking though if a race victory was possible there, Scott Malcolm. And Josh Thompson, he will not be happy with that. Still in maybe could win that final race if he catches a bit of luck. But I was saying off air, Marco, how race 2 can be absolutely enthralling, and that was just it there.
Amazing race, emotions all the way around. We see the replay now, I think, of Thompson. He was so desperate to get to the 2nd position, very late on the brakes. They made contact, and for once, I think we were lucky that nobody else was involved there, because that was a very awkward position. Too bad for Scott Malcolm there. He had an amazing race. Now I think that it's going to be P13 at the next race for Josh Thompson, so he's going to put on a show for us once again, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Thompson was just so desperate for the race victory, wasn't he? He did not care about 3rd. He didn't care about 2nd. He was just desperate to make that move quickly so he could quickly go catch Rafe Cullinan. But unfortunately, he could not make it. He's made race 3 very difficult for himself. Now, through the field, Rafe Cullinan takes the race victory ahead of Kip Stevens. Kip Stevens starting from 10th on the grid. Lee Deemer had issues early on, but he'll be very happy with a 3rd in the end. And while Smith, he spun early on, somehow finishes in 4.4 seconds off the lead. Quite incredible. Stephen Burke, he drove a very good race in 5th, spent most of the race in 2nd or 3rd. Michael Abdoka had a good start, but struggled to make his way through the field, and in the end got a little bit of damage as well. He ends up in 6th position. Jamie Ayres ends up in 7th with Art Delman 8th. Scott Malcolm will be so frustrated. Pole position. He led by about 3 seconds, but and then Anoff just relinquished the lead, and in the end, a collision with Kip Stevens in the last lap dropped him down to 9th. Anthony Jacobson, didn't see too much of him, but he did well from 17th to 10th. Carl Hardy ends up in 11th with Steve Leverley in 12th. Josh Thompson will be frustrated with 13th. Jad Jules in 14th. Next, Max Wright in 15th. Colin Robinson started second. He ends up in 16th. Lane O'Connor 17th. Michael Gray 18th with Chris Daines, Rich Gafenki, Richard Warmingham and James Underhill rounding out the 22-car field. The final race of the evening will be 35 minutes. Mandatory pit stop. It should, judging by this grid, be very, very entertaining. So certainly do not miss it. We'll be back with you in about 20 minutes time. See you then.
iRacing.com is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all over the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics and engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. iRacing's web-based interface allows members to compare stats and test drive any combination of car and track instantly. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 60,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsport organizations like SRO Motorsports Group to deliver virtual races based on the real-life Blancpain GT series. iRacing's Blancpain Endurance Series features team racing, giving members the ability to build a team and participate in races ranging from 3 hours to 24 hours. Additional partners include NASCAR, IMSA, V8 Supercars, IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own 24 hours of Spa, Bathurst 1000, Daytona 500, and many more. iRacing.com, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community,
Welcome back to the BSR Grand Tour for race 3 of the evening. And yeah, we've got a very exciting race potentially coming up here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, joined alongside once again by Marco Barbner and Sam Kumo. And the grid for this final race of the evening, Rafe Carnan, after winning race 2, he will start from the pole and arguably could be the favourite going into this race. Kip Stevens, though, was very strong. He ended up in second with Lee Diemer in third. Anwar Smith almost won race 1. He finished second in race 1 in fourth. Stephen Burke starts in fifth, followed by Michael F. Docker, Jamie Ayres, Bart Delman, Scott Malcolm, Anthony Jacobson, Carl Hardy, Steve Leverley, Josh Thompson, Jared Jules, Max Wright, Colin Robinson, Lena Connor, Michael Gray, Chris Daines, Rich Warming, and James Underhill. Marco, quick word from you. Who's going to win?
I think Anwar Smith.
Okay. I think that's could be a good call, starting from fourth position. But here comes Quick.
Wow.
And look at that. And he's miles ahead. And Kip Stevens there, I don't know really what he was doing, but miles out into the lead is Vic Carlin. That must be some 2.5, 3 seconds already. What a start for him. You can really using that chicane to his advantage. But behind him, it's pretty much single file. Anwar Smith has already got past Lee Diemer, so great start for him. And Diemer might be under pressure from behind here, from Michael Abdoka. Can Abdoka make the move into turn 3? Not quite, just has to sit in behind. But Anwar Smith racing out from the blocks. He's right on the tail of Kip Stevens. Just behind that, across the drivers we're watching, Stephen Burke. And down the inside. Now for Anwar Smith, and he's made the move very cleanly. That's impressive from Anwar Smith, but he's going to be wide now. Maybe getting out of the thoughts a little bit. Stevens pulls ahead. Now can Smith pull off one of those dummy moves that he did in race 1? Goes to the outside. Can he look to the inside now? Not quite. But a awesome start for Rafe Carnan out there, Marco.
Yeah, great racing. Drivers trying to get it sorted. We have to remember, you guys at home, that we have a mandatory stop here as Smith looks to the inside once again at the hairpin.
And Abdoka's going to go through as well. Awesome racing down the field. Now can Stevens get back into the slipstream? Not a brilliant drive there from Smith. Stevens has got a slightly better overdrive, but at the same time he's not really got much more momentum now getting back into the slipstream. If there's possibly a line down the inside, he's got to take it, Stevens. I think he may have just lifted off there. Doesn't feel like getting involved in that one. Although Abdoka is right on his tail already, and Stevens very nearly losing the car, and he's going to lose 1 position. He could lose 2 positions. Abdoka could gain 2 positions. He is right onto the tail of Stevens, although he'll be happy just stay ahead of Smith. Smith, can he go to the inside of Abdoka? Abdoka tried to cover him off, but he couldn't do, and Smith round the outside now.
Awesome racing, awesome racing. Everybody doing their best now, and of course the leader is smiling behind and under his helmet because he's getting such a huge advantage while all these guys are battling behind him. What a crazy start to the race.
And down the outside goes Lee Diemer, trying to make a move on Michael Abdoka. Abdoka almost caught unawares there, but Diemer couldn't quite make it stick, and now he's under big pressure from Delman. Delman all over the back of him, heading under the bridge now into this chicane. Delman to the outside now. He needs to get a good cutback and get a good drive. Not really, although he is going to be close on Diemer. Diemer's going to have to go defensive once again. We're getting one of these trains once again with the leader once again pulling away in the early stages. Delman to the inside of Lee Diemer, moves up into Stephen Burke, and Thompson was involved in that one. Jacobson, as he's so often been today, involved in it as well, and Burke is really an unlucky driver right now.
Yeah, Josh Thompson up to P7, of course. Take a close eye on him since he was so fast in both of the first 2 races, and he had a crash in the final lap of race 2. Kalinin fastest lap of the race, 38.5, 2.1 seconds. And you see massive amount of cars at the final chicane.
Oh,
wow.
That was Scott Malcolm, was it? Or was it Max Wright, I think, was involved in that one? Yeah, Max Wright, Lane O'Connor. XVR drivers, I say again, don't like that corner. And Max Wright back to the pits. So here was the replay. Whilst the XVR drivers going into one another, and
3 separate crashes basically.
Yeah,
that was very, very odd. and there are the first casualties of the evening, sadly. See the cars in the pits as Ralph Cullinan has got 2 seconds advantage.
Yeah, he's not pulling away massively, is he? Needs to make a bit more of an advantage of this if he possibly can. I'm sure he's pushing as hard as he possibly can, but currently he needs to make that lead a little bit bigger to fend off those of Smith, Evdoka, maybe Dima and Thompson as well. Evdoka looking for a move on Smith, and Smith down the inside of Kip Stevens. Stevens can't do anything about it, although he will be able to respond down this back straight. Side by side, Evdoka getting the tight. Delman, as so often has been today, just watching from afar. This battle go on. Smith has got the inside line, the much better line, and Stevens so far today has been very courteous and been very clean as well. Can Smith get a slightly better run through the chicane this time? Yes, he can.
Fastest lap of the race for Bart Delman right now, as basically who has Josh Thompson now. Basically, if you have free track, you can get down the fastest lap in these early stages, so it's not that important. We will see later in the race, but Thompson looking very, very good right now, trying to make up as many positions as he can, while his opponents are trying to navigate as well. And Smith is so close to the lead, and Evdoka will try to pass Stevens right now.
Yeah, definitely. And yes, Thompson's going to be onto the back of this lot very, very soon. Just sides through the field. I'm trying to say a word, but I don't think I can even say it right. But yeah, certainly goes through the field like a knife through warm butter. Does Josh Thompson? Unlike maybe some other guys who struggle to make the move, Thompson just goes straight through, and there goes Dane straight past Carl Hardy. Although I think he might get a slow down here. Should be okay though. I thought he attacked that curve a little bit much, and Scott Malcolm is only just ahead of him now, and it's really close between Stevens and Evdoka, by the way, just looking at the live timing. 1/10 between them. Delman right on his tail as well. To the inside goes Michael Evdoka. Now, how much will Stevens resist this overtake? Not too much, seemingly. Evdoka down the inside, and through he goes. Nice little move, although he is still vulnerable from Stevens.
Yeah, Evdoka making a good pass, and now will be probably focused on the car in front, which is Anwar Smith, who's in turn closing.
And he's hit Delman. Michael Evdoka will be so frustrated with that. Did the hard work, and now he's got to overtake a few cars again. We'll get back past Lee Dima. Josh Thompson and Kip Stevens, of course, move through. And Thompson, this is just looking so good for him. Started down in 13th position. Now, can he make the move into this next corner on Stevens? Because that was where he potentially lost the race victory earlier on. But now it just sits him behind it. He's looking much quicker, and it's actually really close between the top two drivers.
Yeah, meanwhile, Michael Gray has stowed back to the pits, so I think it's the first, not the first, but another retirement now. Yeah, Thompson is trying to do his best, trying to pass car in front of him, Kip Stevens, and Smith has overtaken now Cullinan, so we have a new leader. No,
and down the inside goes Thompson, and he's made it. A little bit of contact was that, I think, with Kip Stevens. Stevens, now can he respond using the Mercedes power? Here they are. Smith with the lead against Cullinan. That's actually really close as well. I think they're side by side. And Stevens just backing out of it now. Smith has got past Cullinan, by the way, and has established that move. So now we really do have a race in our hands, because Smith was quick in race 1, and he needs to make sure that he pulls away a gap now so that he's not vulnerable to Thompson later on.
Yeah, Evdoka is in the pits, of course. I think race being this short, you can pit whenever you like to get the mandatory fuel. I don't think they're going to take tires, and hopefully Evdoka will be able also to fix his car. Let's see, now in the pits at this very moment. Let's see how long does it take for him to make this stop.
It's quite a long one, isn't it?
8 seconds, and now he's out.
Oh, it's not too bad, sorry.
Hopefully he doesn't have a lot of damage, because that was a pretty hard hit he took at the first corner in the previous lap.
Yeah, so I'm coming out behind Max out, sorry, and I thought it may be a bit of a slow pit stop for him, but actually, yeah, 8 seconds, not too bad. Needs to mix it up to Zebdoka, and he might still be able to challenge for the podium positions later on.
Yeah, and now all eyes are on Thompson, of course, if he can close the gap between himself, Cullinan, and of course Smith, who's in first position. And we see a nice pack of cars here from James Underhill back 10th position, 11, 12, and so on.
Yeah, for straight in data Underhill had a poor race 1, got involved in a collision, I think. Then race 2, I think he accidentally missed it. But here, in race 3, he's driving well, up 11 positions into 10th. Jamie Ayres, by the way, is into the pits, and actually Colin Robinson and Carl Hardy going side by side potentially. Those two have been going hammer and tongs all day, and actually losing a little bit of time there was Carl Hardy, losing out to Colin Robinson, and just behind are the XVR drivers of Warmingham and Leverley.
I think Underhill had a disconnection at the very beginning of the second. Like, as soon as the green flag dropped, as we see Thompson on the inside, clean move. The hunt is on now on Smith. Two very good drivers will battle for the win.
Yep, 2.3 seconds, so it's going to take a little bit of time for Thompson to close in. It's not going to be a couple of laps, it's going to be a little bit of work, 4 or 5 laps I think at the very least, because Smith was very fast in the first race, I've already stated. So it should be an awesome duel between those two. Here's Warmingham going for the move against Hardy, with Robinson just ahead. Warmingham down the inside, and the XVR driver does make up the position. Can Carl Hardy maybe respond going into the hairpin? Not quite, the bit of a tap, and actually Leverley's kind of got his teammates back there, gives Hardy a little bit of his own medicine there, and Warmingham, Dima's into the pits. So, not quite sure why Dima's done that really, because he had a bit of clear air, but I trust he's done the right thing here, and we'll see where he comes out, probably in comparison to Evdoka. Here is Jules trying to get the, I think just losing out in fact to Chris Staines. Good to see the Ferrari represented out there, but you can see it looks like a bit of a boat out there, and certainly driving as though it is a very good car though, is Jared.
Let's see, tops around 8 seconds for, 10 seconds for Dimmer. So remember, Evdoka had 8 seconds stop, 10 seconds for Warmingham, and almost 11 seconds for Leverley. So looking around 8 to 10 seconds for a stop, more or less.
Thompson's got a lot of damage. I wonder if he's hit the wall up there, because he's really struggling. And Valkonen goes to the inside. Thompson's got massive issues with his BMW. Down the inside goes Vic Cullinan, and he's through. Thompson really out wide there, and nearly contact with Kip Stevens. Stevens moves up into P3 for now, but although Thompson's got a nice run, got so much damage with that car though, Thompson. He must have hit the wall hard. Looked so good for the race victory perhaps, but you can see he just cannot keep up with the drivers ahead down these straights. Stevens trying to challenge the second position. Is there going to be contact between the two of them? Thompson is going to try to get some of that damage repaired. Don't think they have a fast repair. Actually they do, so Thompson could still be in contention out here. But yeah, I don't know about you, Marco, but it certainly seems as though Thompson hit the wall. Yeah,
hit the wall in more than one place, because he had damage on the side, on the back of the car, on the front of the car, so I have no idea what happened there. Certainly he didn't have a collision with another competitor. Let's see how long does it take for him to make the pit. His car looked really bad. Let's.
Yeah, where is he in comparison to Evdoka? Well, this is a slow stop actually. He's 11 seconds, so 3 seconds slower than Evdoka. I think Evdoka has been able to get ahead of him, but he should be ahead of Dima. Is Thompson? No, he's not. Dima's actually ahead. No, Thompson's ahead of Dima. So of course the unique pit entry out here, and Thompson just ahead of Dima currently. So he is second out of the drivers who have pitted. So he's still got a chance, has Thompson, but now Evdoka is kind of in the box seat along with Smith.
Yeah, and I Stevens on the outside and Kalinen on the inside at the hairpin, fighting for second position, whilst Anwar Smith has almost got 8 seconds to these guys, so he's looking very good, and of course he has to look a little bit behind to Doka and Thompson, but he has such a good run and free track in front of him, so he's looking really good for the race win. Nice move by Stevens, and he has to defend at the chicane.
Delman's just behind these guys. Has had good pace all day long, has Bart Delman. Chris Daines is only just behind as well. He's up 14 positions from where he started. And that is that Anthony Jacobson just getting out of the way, I think. Just saying past a few cars. But Colin Robinson now into the pits. So, yeah, he should come out about 5th out of the drive. So pitting. That's, I think, not Max, right? Stephen Burke just coming out of the pits there. And nearly interrupting this little battle.
He is, I think, a lap down. Moving out of the way of the leaders, as we see now Jamie Ayres flashing his lights to the car in front, or maybe he knew he was on camera. It's a big hello to us.
Well, considering there's a bit of a delay, you would have to, you know, be a time traveller.
Yeah.
But we don't know that, Jamie. You could well be.
Okay, but the car in front of him is a lap down, so that's why he's flashing his lights. Basically, I was thinking, he's trying to maybe unnerve the guy in front of him by flashing his lights, and then I see car in front of him is actually Max Wright in P19, and he's in P13. So yeah, he's asking politely to get out of the way. Still has to make a lot of ground in order to get the blue flags waved.
Yeah. Or he could be a time traveller. I'm just putting it out there. He could well be. Yeah, sorry for that tangent there. Yeah, currently the battles, for now, calming down a little bit. Only a couple of cars within a second of one another. And just looking at Evdoka's lap time. So Evdoka on that last lap did a 33.37. The leader, Smith, did a 33.84. And actually Stevens, 33.43. So Smith has got to make sure that he maybe doesn't absolutely have to improve his pace, but he's got to keep it at a decent level to ensure that he takes home that race victory.
Yeah. Nice lap there by Stevens, and also Delman is looking really good behind Cullinan for 3rd position. Of course, once again, most of these guys still have to pit. See the battle for P3 right now.
I'll say the BMWs today have looked really competitive. In particular, Cullinan, who I think this is probably his strongest evening in this series since maybe the early stages of last season. But to the outside goes Bart Delman now, trying to take that 3rd position away from the BMW driver. But Cullinan's got the straight line speed. Delman to the outside, he's not going to be able to muscle his way around there. Over the curves goes Cullinan, got to make sure that he doesn't pick up a slow down there. And Delman just a little bit too far behind unless he can maybe sell his opponent, the dummy. He's late on the brakes, but nowhere near close enough to force the overtake. Daines is in, by the way.
Yeah, I thought he had a good run coming out of the last chicane, but it wasn't enough. So good defending by Cullinan and holding to P3 over the Belgian driver.
Interesting between Thompson and Evdoka. Thompson actually losing a little bit of time. I just said that, and Thompson was 4/10 slow on that lap, and you know Thompson today has kind of shown himself to be the absolute fastest driver out there. So he had a fast repair, so I don't really know why that would be the case. Here's warming up. He's now out of the race and hit the inside wall. It's the outside wall, and today has not been as successful for him as it was in the Euro V8s yesterday.
No, absolutely. It seems like those XVR cars have a little curse on them because... Oh, and I think Thompson has got damage once again.
That will explain the lack of pace, perhaps.
You see the right side of the car looks a little bit second-hand.
Delman and Cullinan, by the way, super close. Sorry to draw it away from this, but yeah, 2 tenths between them down the straight. Delman looking to the outside. I don't know why he's doing that. He may as well just go to the inside here, but he's not quite confident enough. Delman, usually not the most spontaneous overtaker, I'd say. Maybe he doesn't quite have the absolute confidence. That can be wise, though, of course, as we've seen plenty of times in this series. But currently, he's just a little bit too far behind. And that turn one move is so difficult, isn't it? Because you've got to nail the chicanes, and that's the following driver. It's really difficult to kind of get your line right when right in the gearbox of the driver ahead.
Yeah, and you have to have everything sorted before this corner here, because we've seen multiple times if they are side by side, usually it ends up in a crash. So I understand why these guys don't try the move in the first corner more often. They were doing it more in the first race and then subsequently doing less and less and less because they saw that the consequences were not always good.
These guys now 12.5 seconds off the lead. Maybe he won't try it into turn one, Bart Delman, but is he close enough down here? The BMW usually stronger on the brakes, although we have seen plenty of dives down the inside. And if anything, just Cullinan ever so slightly moving in the braking zone. Just saying, nope, mate, you're not going down the inside here. But will you be able to say the same thing this time? Delman, little bit too far back, but the slipstream will draw him closer and closer. But you can see going into that chicane where you kind of need to be alongside, lifts off a little bit, wants himself a little bit of a gap so he can absolutely nail this next chicane, but he hasn't quite got the exit right. Still somewhat close. He still will have a chance down into turn one, but you know what, I think he's just a bit too far behind going into the braking zone.
Ooh, yeah, late on the brakes, but yeah, he's going maybe for an outside move, but he has to slot him behind. Amazing battle these two guys are putting on, as James Underhill goes in the pits from P5.
So only five drivers haven't pitted, and 4 of them, of course, are leading the event. So clear to see that the front runners are confident out there. If you were Delman here, would you not pit? Kind of not, instead of getting stuck behind Cullinan for a while, why not pit and get a bit of clear air potentially?
Well, if he cannot get the move done by the hairpin now, or maybe the backstretch, I would go straight into the pits if I were him.
We should be able to see drivers kind of be able to stretch their fuel tanks to about the half an hour mark, with about 5 minutes to go. By the way, Thompson has upped his pace a little bit, was 4 tenths faster than Evdoka on that last lap, and 4 tenths faster than the race leader, but it might be a little bit too late for him because he is nearly 5 seconds behind Evdoka currently, and will be even further behind Anwar Smith. Can Delman go for it against Cullinan? Oh, he nearly goes into the back of it, but does go into the pits now, listening to Marco. But did that car ahead just compromise his pit entry? And this will be interesting to see where he is in comparison to Lee Diemer. I think that will be the car who he'll be closest to.
Here he is, right behind Scott Malcolm for P7. Of course, Scott still has to stop.
Yes, I think Scott might just go into the pits here. Nope. Diemer nearly losing it on the exit, and Delman still in the pit lane currently. Here he comes there, and he's going to be way clear actually of Lee Diemer, isn't he? Might be under pressure a little bit later on, but maybe if Diemer spent a couple of laps behind Malcolm, that's really cost him. And Delman comfortably still in that what will become a net 4th position, I think.
Yes, good call by Delman to go into the pits there. He recognized the situation and he was very, very good at going in the pits and getting himself out of trouble. You are right, if he were to spend another 2 laps behind his opponent there, he could have lost the position. So good job, and now it's back on the gas. Try to catch the guys in front of him.
Smith has stayed out. Stevens seems to have stayed out as well. Did Delman just tap the wall, I think there? I don't think it's caused too much damage if he did. Cullinan is in, so now this is the judgment time. Daleman versus Cullinan. Daleman pitted early to try to get the undercut on Cullinan, and we'll see if that will work for him now. Just looking at Daleman's pit stop time, 9 seconds. Fastest we've seen is 8 seconds from Evdoka, and the average is about 10 seconds. So, yeah, should be strong. Going to be difficult to get a shorter pit stop than that. Here comes Daleman. Of course, the unusual pit exit here. Cullinan's got to go now. He's still not going though, and I think, oh, this is going to be neck and neck. Surely, Cullinan accelerating away from the pits. Where is Daleman? Daleman's on the inside, and Daleman has... That's a perfect strategy call from Daleman. He's got track position on his rival, and that undercut was absolutely the right call.
Beautiful call, and now he gets a good position. I don't know if you will be able to catch Josh Thompson and Michael Evdoka, but he's made the pass, and that's what is really important.
Yeah, and that should be... Well, he could maybe challenge Stevens late on as well. Daleman has had superb pace, but just been a little bit slow to finish off those overtakes. But Daleman, a relatively new driver, I think, to the series, didn't do too many races last season. Would be great to see him maybe improve that score as the season goes on. This was Lee Diemer losing it. Lee Diemer was running a net kind of P6, P7, but that's really cost him bad.
Yeah, the top two drivers are in, by the way, to have their mandatory stop. Here they are.
Smith should be a long way clear of the rest of the field. You can just see in the back of your screen Michael Evdoka come round. And here comes Smith. He's going to be way, way clear of Michael Evdoka, who's being harassed by Josh Thompson behind. Kip Stevens, will he be ahead of Michael Evdoka here? Evdoka is clear, and Thompson is going to be clear, and Stevens, in fact, is a long way behind, isn't he? But a long way clear of Bart Daleman as well. So, seems as though Stevens is going to be quite easily hanging on to that P4 to the end of the event.
Yeah, nice strategy as well. Now, of course, you have to... We said it yesterday as well for the V8s. It's not much about when you stop for the undercut with the tires, but the undercut, you can get it via clean air and good track position when you come out after your stop. So, unless you have spotter that can tell you if you enter the pits now, you exit here, it's almost always down to good luck. And of course, you have to try to get lucky. That's what some of these guys did, and they get rewarded with a good track position to go from now until the end of the race.
Yeah, it often does come down to that, and that really did help Bart Daleman to get that undercut, and he's quite comfortably ahead of Vivkana. In fact, if Daleman had a 2 seconds, no, actually 1 second shorter pit stop than Stevens, so actually not that much longer, to be fair. Yeah, 1 second longer, so yeah, not that much time. I was thinking maybe he'd be a bit closer, but he'd still be 3 seconds behind. Should be pretty settled amongst these drivers. Thompson on that last lap was half a second faster than Evdoka, but I don't think he's going to have enough pace. And finally, Scott Malcolm comes into the pits, and he's going to drop right down to the back of the field after issues early on for him.
He was the only driver left to take his mandatory stop among those that are still in the race. So after his pit stop, we're going to have the clearer picture of what's going on. I think the top three are pretty safe. I don't know if Thompson can close in on Evdoka.
Yeah, he's going to try, isn't he? He's never going to give up his Josh Thompson. Yeah, he's was desperate for that race victory in race 2, and if anything, that desperation cost him. And if it weren't for a contact with the wall, which he's done a couple of times in this race, he'd perhaps be leading right now, but instead he finds himself 7 seconds off the race lead, 2.3 seconds behind Michael Evdoka with 6 minutes and 40 to go. Yeah, it is still possible, isn't it? But yeah, gonna be an interesting one, this.
Yeah, there's a lapper in between them, so Thompson will have the advantage of having the slipstream, you know, on the back straightaway going back into the final chicane. Wow, very, very close to the wall there. Oh, slow down, I think.
Oh dear. Well, that's really ruined his chances, hasn't it?
Didn't look like he was going to get a slowdown for that, but maybe he ran the curbs a little bit too hard. It wasn't clear maybe from our perspective. Yeah, that's a huge problem for him, and I think the hunt for P2 is over.
Yeah, we've got, what, 4 more laps to go after this one. So, if that, it might only be 3 more laps after this one. So, yeah, going to be difficult for Thompson to go out, you know, game play 8 tenths a lap, a second a lap, I think, to catch up to Evdokia from here. And then make the overtaking. He's hit the wall there. And if he keeps on doing that, then that's just going to really hurt his steering. Should be okay for now, but he needs to be careful because Stevens is only 5 seconds behind.
Yeah. You know, he's one of those drivers that gives 120% every time he's on the track. We saw that in race 2 and in race 3 as well. He's driving so hard. Sometimes you are prone to making mistakes, but these are the exciting drivers we like, let's be honest.
Closest battle up there is James Underhill versus Colin Robinson. The battle for P9. By the way, Scott Malcolm came out in 13th position, and yeah, seems as though he's just going to stick in that 13th position to the end of the race. But this is pretty much the only 2 cars which are within about 2 seconds of one another. To the outside goes Colin Robinson. He's really been in the mix today. He's yeah, always seems to be battling another driver. Most commonly, Carl Hardy, who's only just behind these drivers, and Hardy actually pretty evenly paced to these two. Let's see if Robinson can challenge that BMW. Let's see how strong it is over these curves, because we've seen from other drivers such as Thompson and Cullinan that car is very good over the curves, and they could see dealt with them very easily. But as you can see down the straights, just not being able to make an impact.
Let's see, try to... Oh, he's a little bit late on the brakes there. Huh? See this big GT Omega car in front of him. He absolutely... You know, you want to maybe brake a little bit later than the guy in front of you, so sometimes that's why you get crashes, because you are... I think he slightly touched the wall there, did Colin Robinson. Down the inside. Not gonna be easy for him, but he has the pace. Underhill has plus 12 on his starting position, so he had, I think, probably the best race in that regard.
He is also one of only 2 drivers not to pick up an incident so far. The other being race leader Anwar Smith, which really does show, you know, clean driving does reward drivers out there. Colin Robinson, just looking for him on the list. A little bit wide there for Underhill. Robinson has got 1 incident. So actually these 2 drivers have been really clean out there. Most of anyone is Burke with 13. In fact, actually Thompson got 16 out there. I think a couple of them might be 4Xs, so not all off tracks. He has been rubbing the walls and very happy out there.
Yeah.
Oh, is that going to be a slowdown for Robinson?
Let's see. Usually when the guys move on the left side it's a slowdown, but not in this case. Yeah, it seems to be fine. Whoa, very late on the brakes, Robinson again. Once again, I think he is using the car in front of him as a brake marker, basically. And sometimes you can make a mistake. And he's losing a little bit of time now.
Hardy a little bit sideways there. Oh, and is that a slowdown? Oh, that was very odd, whatever it was. And Cullinan's lost a position to Danes. So Cullinan, I think, has got an issue out there. He's made a mistake or something, because he's... Yeah, here it was.
Yeah, Danes was far away behind him. Let's see what happened here at the chicane. Maybe a slowdown. No, he lost the car on the grass and lost the position.
Yeah, did well to recover that one, didn't he? You know, just got on the brakes, made sure that he didn't spear off into the wall, and in the end didn't lose too much time. And you know what? He might still fancy his chances against Chris Danes. With 1 minute 30 to go, we will have this lap and 1 more. And out in the lead, it is Anwar Smith, of course, Michael Evdoka. Actually coming under a bit of pressure from Josh Thompson now. I think Michael may have got a slowdown or something recently, and here was Jewel going spinning. I still find that Ferrari, it's like a whale, isn't it? It's so big. In fact, it looks a bit like a fish, I'd say. And round a circuit like this, you do not want that. You want the car that Colin Robinson's currently driving. And Carl Hardy's in, so he's clearly underfueled, and that is wasn't a great race for Carl Hardy beforehand, and this is going to make it a whole lot worse.
He had a 10-second stop so that looks a bit odd, because usually we saw stops in the 8 seconds, 9 seconds, and his drivers are good. He had 10 seconds, but yeah, I think he's taking fuel. Long stop, more than 12 seconds, maybe he's taking tires, I don't know. This is a very odd decision.
Oh,
yeah, he was up on the jacks, yeah.
I don't know if that was a mistake or something. Maybe he feels like getting the fastest lap. But he didn't take all 4 tyres, because all 4 tyres is about 26 seconds, and he was only stationary for 19 seconds. So I wonder if he accidentally ticked the tyres accidentally. Did only drop a couple of positions though, down into 14th.
He used tire warmers with his car, so it should be good to go, but the time is almost up for these drivers, this third race of the evening.
Yeah, here's Chris Daines going past. They're starting their final lap. Already well onto his final lap is Anwar Smith. He's only got about half the lap to go. It's been an awesome drive from him. Started in 4th position, got a good start, made the moves very quickly through the field. And once he's got that lead, he's been very much unstoppable, whilst drivers behind him like Michael Evdoka and Josh Thompson have made mistakes. He has been unflappable. No incidents whatsoever, no incident points at all for him. And he's only got a couple more corners to round. Evdoka's a little bit under pressure from Thompson, down to 1 second between the two of them. And all of a sudden, actually, has Evdoka got a slowdown or something? He lost a lot of time under brakes there. Thompson's absolutely giving it his all out there. And Evdoka's slow.
Maybe
has he got another slowdown? Surely not. And maybe he is out of fuel. I think you're right. Yes, Evdoka is going to have to cool across the line. He's got a 10-second gap to Stevens, but Anwar Smith is going to approach the line. He's going to take his first, is it his first race of victory of the season? Not sure. Anyway, he's won. And race 3 of the evening here at Montreal. Josh Thompson somehow finishes in 2nd, and Evdoka crawling round, and Stephen Burke is going to give him a bit of a help here, and he hasn't given him any help whatsoever. He's spun him round, and Evdoka, from looking like a solid 2nd position, he's lost a 2nd position in the closing stages for the 2nd time today, and he cannot do anything to aid that car. He is out of the race, and he's going to drop way down the field.
Well, not a good couple of days for Michael. He will be looking to bounce back. As we see, the replay was clearly out of fuel there. Stuck in 4th gear, trying to crawl to the finish line, but I think he was out of it before even before the chicane. Going on by inertia, basically, as you see. Losing speed. Then the Audi tries to give him a push, and it doesn't work.
I think Evdoka may have been on the brakes, you know. I'm not quite sure, but I don't really know why he would steer off like that. I think he may have been on the brakes, and yeah, you might just get an on board with him to see what it was like for him.
This will tell us.
No, he wasn't on the brakes, was he? Was on the brakes after that, but the Audi just managed to get underneath him and tipped him round. I think that is all the drivers across the line, and Max Wright actually still going.
Out of fuel.
Come on, mate, you can make it.
He has 20 seconds.
Come on, quick. Where's some help? Where's Stephen Burke to push him along or spin him?
You see, trying to get, but yeah, this is game over for him. 5 seconds left, I don't think he will be able to teleport to the start-finish line, and that will be that.
Nigel Mansell-esque, that. And
No,
Max,
he's still going.
He's getting further away from the checker flag now, isn't he? He's not helping himself. Oh dear. Well, we can now take you through the final order, I believe. Anwar Smith takes the race victory. Awesome drive from him. Josh Thompson, 8 seconds away in the end in second. Kip Stevens, good day for him. A third in races 2 and 3. Bart Daleman ends up in 4th. Good drive from him. He ended up very close, actually, to the back of Stevens. Danes finishes in 5th with Cullinan 6th. He might be a little bit frustrated with that, but, you know, a race win today. He will happily take that, I think. Steve Leverley ends up in 7th. Then a big gap of about 20 seconds back to James Underhill, who's 50 seconds off the lead in 8th. Colin Robinson in 9th. Lee Deemer in 10th. It's Scott Malcolm in 11th. And Jared Joule in 12th. Michael Avdoka, we saw him run out of fuel and get a little bit of a tip round as well. He ends up in 13th with Carl Hardy in 14th. Anthony Jacobson 15th. Stephen Burke tried to help Avdoka. He ended up 2 laps down in 16th. Max Gray painfully running out of fuel in 17th. Richard Warmingham, what a frustrating day for Richard, let's say. And he ends up in 18th. Not a great day for XVR generally. Jamie Ayres 19th. Michael Gray 20th. And Lane O'Connor rounds out the field. Hopefully we'll get a couple of interviews, and we can always rely on Josh Thompson to give us an interview. And here he is. Josh, well done for that race 1 victory, but you must feel a little bit frustrated because races 2 and 3 were within your grasp of another couple of victories.
They really shouldn't have been, though. That's the thing. The Merc was so much faster. I'm going to be 110% honest. I did not have the pace. BMW. You could see it in race 2. That's why I hit the wall nearly every lap. I'm pushing the thing so hard. Like, even in the chicanes where you'd think the BMW would gain time, the Mercedes just pull away. So to be able to be that close, I can't really complain.
Yeah, of course, this is very much a preparation for World GT tomorrow. So you're not, I guess from those comments, you're not feeling totally confident about it tomorrow.
Good thing it isn't World GT tomorrow. It's not till next week.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, next week.
And it's at Mid-Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Which is a BMW track. I just do this just to keep sharp in the car. I was playing around with stuff. So I was playing around with like different car setups, just playing around with just figuring out stuff which I can learn to use later on in the season at like faster tracks. But thank God this track isn't on the calendar for World GT, or I'd be absolutely ruined. Because tonight I've never had to drive a GT3 car. I was literally on edge the entire race.
Yeah, did you hit the wall in that race too? We didn't see it, but you seemed to suddenly lose a lot of time and have quite a bit of damage on your car.
Yeah, I hit the wall and wrote the front right suspension off, so it was crabbing everywhere. So lucky enough, I managed to get back to the pits, then overshot the pit box when I braked, because obviously the suspension just pulled left, which cost me even more time. If it wasn't for that, I still probably come out only 2 or 3, 4 seconds behind Anwar. So I could have had a race with him, but nah, one of those things really.
Yeah, definitely. And in that race 2, we also saw you get a slow down. It's one of the more frustrating things about this circuit, isn't it? And do you think without that slowdown, if you had got to the back of Avdoka, how long do you think it would have been for you to pull off that move?
A lap.
Yeah.
I really think. The BMW, yes, it had its flaws and stuff like that, but I felt tonight, out of all the fast drivers, so Richard had an absolute awful one. DNF 2 race and didn't turn up for the 3rd one, which is good for the championship. So obviously I had quite a big gap on me, because obviously I missed 2 rounds. Anwar was good, and same with Michael, but I thought I was the most consistent out of the 3. Out of us 3, I made 2 mistakes the entire meeting, and those 2 mistakes were more costly. The one, and maybe I'd say actually 3 mistakes, the one in race 2 with Scott, that was because I flipped the brake bias to help my car in the fast section. Tried to go around the outside in turn 1, forgot to switch the brake bias back, hit the brakes and the rear snatched, fully locked up, and that's why I went for the gap, and it was when I half spun, which I collected Scott. So, yeah, 3 little mistakes, but I really can't complain with the track being a real Merc power track.
Yeah, and what are you going to be taking part in the near future? Of course, we've got World GT this series. Are you going to continue doing the IGPS and the UAV8s?
Not doing Euro V8s, I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
It's just one of those cars where you have to put so much time into it. You can't drive anything else but that. iGPS, yes, I will be doing that, and there should be some news hopefully this week if everything goes to plan. Because obviously I took a week out for a reason. So I should be back for the next round. Hopefully, new head, new area should all be good. And obviously World GT and stuff like that.
Yeah, I certainly don't blame you going down to 2 cars. That's hard enough anyway, and certainly at the high level that you're competing at. And before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
So I'd like to thank the admin, so Lee, Kip, for getting me involved in this league, 'cause it was great fun. Everyone tonight was actually quite a good racing, besides a few little incidents. And you guys for broadcasting, it was excellent as always.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. And
No worries.
see you soon back on the channel.
Yeah, see you later.
Also have Scott Malcolm, and Scott, yeah, a little bit frustrated I think with that race too, because you were running so well for so long, but in the end, I think a positive day for you.
It was. That's what I can say about that.
How did you find the circuit out there?
I thought it was pretty good. I didn't get much practice this week at that track. I actually thought it was mid-Ohio. But when I seen the server was like this thick, I went, oh no, I'm not doing any practice. But I still did pretty well. Race 2, I don't know how I managed to get that lead. And I think I just lost concentration and just let everybody catch back up with me.
Well, you were pretty consistent out there, and you managed to sustain that lead for a while until you just had a little bit of an off at that turn 2. Was it just the pressure a little bit, or was it just, maybe a little bit of a lack of concentration?
That's all it is, just a bit of lack of concentration. Getting on a bit, so not as young as I used to be. So it's just lack of concentration. That's all it is.
Yeah, and of course, next week I think we are going to Mid-Ohio. So I guess you have extra practice for there now. But yeah, strong one for you. May not be strong for the Merc, but tight, twisty circuit, lots of elevation change. Yeah, should be a good one.
Yeah, it should be, but I think it's going to be well tough. We're being like a really short, narrow track, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and yeah, we certainly look forward to seeing you then. And yeah, any shout outs you'd like to give?
Just the usual guys for setting this series up, and you lot for giving up your time and broadcasting it. And the Team Mad guys for giving me all the help in this car.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Marco, of course, your first time covering this series, but I think today you got a pretty good impression of what this series is like.
Absolutely, and I think we have another driver, maybe.
Yes, Anwar Smith. It'd be great to have a word with. I haven't had a word with him for a while, but yeah, Anwar, well done out there. P2 in the first race, I think. Can't actually remember the second race, it was so chaotic, but coming home with the race victory in race 3, you must be very happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the first race was didn't really go to plan. I just on too many slowdowns, unfortunately, but second was good to salvage, and then second race I got turned on lap 2 when I was in about 6th and found myself 17th, but got back to 4th, so that was all right. But yeah, that last race was good fun. Just tried to bide my time, but at the same time I was desperate to get past Kip to make sure that Josh could catch up with me quickly, so I'd get into the front and try and get a gap. But fortunately, I think Josh hit the wall of champions by the looks of it and did me a favour. So yeah, after that I was just making sure I kept on the track and took it home.
Yeah, it must be really difficult to balance that balancing act that you were talking about, overtaking cars, not overly risky, but of course knowing that other cars are trying to chase you down. Do you think maybe dealing with that comes with experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And then to throw into the mix as well, whilst I'm doing all that, I'm trying to calculate fuel as well in terms of how much I've used and how much I need to put the stop. So there's a lot to think about. So I think you do get used to it after a while. I'm still, you look at some of the aliens in some of these leagues and, the world championships and stuff, and they're just on another level. And, it's because a number of years they've been doing it. So I think you get used to it after a while. But to be honest, when someone like Josh is that quick, you can never let up, unfortunately. So he kind of puts you under pressure, which is kind of what happened to me in that first race. I cracked massively under the pressure, but fortunately I learnt my lesson for the last one.
Yeah, and dealing with those slowdowns, do you have to during that first race, were you kind of changing your racing lines once you got a slowdown, or were you kind of stick to your guns and make sure that you took the same line and just hope that maybe you got a little bit more lucky?
Well, after the third one I got, because I got 3 in total. The first one was a little bit unlucky, really, because I was unsighted onto the apex. I was right, really close behind Josh, and I just misjudged it. So it just happens. And funnily enough, the second one with Mike, I was just behind him, and I tried to get the cut back, and I turned in too early. So again, just misjudgment. But the third one was just really stupid. So in answer to your question, what I did was I told myself if I do it again, I'm going to turn off my PC and I'm not allowed to race. So that was it. I was basically punishing myself and saying, you can't do that again. But yeah, I think the problem with this track is you have to be all over the curbs to be quick. But there's a real fine line between what's acceptable and what isn't, particularly through that chicane before you get to the hairpin and the last chicane. There seems to be a point where you can really take a lot of curb and you're fine, and then you go a millimetre more and you're in trouble. So you just have to, I think, maybe think the long game. And certainly in that first race, I just thought, you know what, I've already lost so much time. I better just consolidate where I am. Unfortunately, I got past the other 2 drivers, but yeah, I was going to just stay in 4th and be done with it. But you do have to change how you drive a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And do you hope to maybe complete the rest of this season and kind of use it as a training tool for World GT?
Well, that's my aim, is to use it as testing for the Monday nights when we have races. So I'm hoping that's going to help. But the more time I spend in this car, the better, really. The thing is, Sunday nights are a bit difficult, so it's a bit sort of see how we go, really. And I think just take each one as it comes. But I'm enjoying it at the moment. That's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
The Youth Energy boys, as always, because their support has always been great. But also thanks to Josh and Mike of Doka, because I thought some of the racing we had tonight was bloody brilliant. So thanks to those guys for making it fun.
Yeah, thanks, Anwar. And hopefully we'll see you next week at Mid High.
Yeah, boys, great as always. Appreciated.
So I think that pretty much wraps us up now. We haven't got any more interviews, so we will see you next time at Mid-High. Of course, we haven't got World GT then tomorrow. I've been advertising it a lot in the broadcast that we've done, but yeah, we don't actually have it tomorrow, so that's a bit disappointing. Our next broadcast will be the Ricmo Tech Sports Car Series, and I think that is at 12 GMT, I think, on Tuesday night. We've also got Le Mans Series, we've got BSR Masters, and certainly check out our Facebook page as well. We'd appreciate it if you left a like, and certainly check out the channel as well. But from me, from Marco, and from Sam, we will say goodbye for now, and we'll see you at Mid High same time next week.